Life is still hard, but we're doing it. We're hanging in there. We're going to talk about a bunch of good stuff today, and I have a topic that is not even related to the drama going on over here. We are slowly but surely getting back to the regular things that we talk about on this podcast, and that came from, I did an Instagram Ask Me Anything a few days ago, and I got a lot of questions from moms basically saying, yeah, I know, you guys don't exactly have it easy. What with the whole cancer thing? But listen, I've got a bunch of little kids and I'm dying and I need you to help me. And honestly, it's relatable. Like on a day-to-day basis, having a bunch of young children was harder in terms of finding peace in the moment and just like being able to put two thoughts together and not be utterly crushingly exhausted all the time. Obviously, this is a much more dire and serious situation, but it really was harder on a day-to-day basis in terms of just like keeping my act together mentally and not completely having a meltdown. Because with when you have little kids, there's no mental break. Somebody always needs something all the time. And so you just don't have a lot of those moments to kind of connect with your highest self and see what would my highest self do? You wouldn't know because you haven't seen your highest self in like 4 years. So we'll talk about that. I do have some advice for you guys. And I was kind of laughing because I was surprised at how much I was like, ask me anything. And it was like, how do I survive? Let me introduce this show since we have a lot of new listeners by saying this is the Jen Fulwiler Show. We are coming to you from Austin, Texas, and we publish new episodes pretty much every Wednesday, although it's a little crazy over here right now. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. Caitlin White is our lovely producer, and my Patreon has kind of temporarily shifted. I don't even remember what I used to do on Patreon. Now, I do things like, actually, there was a story that I told on Friday about, so these are the kind of things I don't want to talk about publicly because like, I don't want to publicly complain about any medical team or anything like that because I've had bad experiences with that. Listen to was that January? I think it was January of 24 of January and February of 2024. I don't publicly complain about things like that anymore because people are very touchy. So on the Patreon, I was talking about the team messed something up, and it was kind of significant in terms of not in terms of major medical outcomes, but it was significant. And I was talking about I actually found a way to realize it was redeemed and God had really done something there, and it would have been very easy to overlook. That's the kind of thing I'm doing on Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And as soon as we can, I want to do a Patreon live with Leanne. Leanne won't want to do a live that's just public, just on YouTube for anyone. She doesn't know she's doing a Patreon live. Big news, Leanne. But I'd like for her to do that, and I think I can convince her to do it if it's the more private forum of Patreon. I just don't know when. But that day, okay, it brings us to. Normally, lately, we record on Saturdays because that is when Lane and I are home from Houston, and it helps Caitlin not get stuck in terrible Austin traffic. So this Saturday, Caitlin's finding this out with you guys. I can't record the podcast because I have to move Lane out of her dorm. She has to withdraw from college. She was thriving. She was doing really well. She loved her dorm room. And it was, I was trying to figure out if I could move in there. It's so beautiful on the 12th floor of this dorm. And the window looked out to where she could actually see Kyle Field at Texas A&M and see one of the main streets in College Station. So she could watch all the traffic before and after football games. She had it all decorated with cottagecore and things like that. And, but cancer, she has to drop out of school. Very unlikely that she will be able to go back next semester because right now we're doing 6 weeks of radiation and one type of chemo, but then after that they hit her with some really serious chemo, multiple different types. And that will go into the spring semester. And I just don't think, and well, the other thing is because she had a massive 10-hour brain surgery involving 4 neurosurgeons on October 6th, she still can't walk on her own. So she's not going back to college this year. So we have to move her out of her dorm. And what a hit the perfect segue sound effect. We have a bunch of very special sound effects on this high budget podcast. That segues into our first topic. That is something that a parent could feel depressed about. Moving Leanne out of her perfect dorm room where she was thriving as a sophomore at Texas A&M. It's also, this dorm it's 1 block away from the Catholic Student Center, so that made it easy to run over to Mass and be involved there. And instead, she'll be doing chemo and being very ill instead of just being in her dorm. And she's not able to move herself out. And so one of us needs to do it. And that is why I can't record the podcast on Saturday. It's about a 2-hour drive from where we live. So it's 2-hour drive, move everything out, and then 2 hours back. So I've been thinking a lot about how exactly one lives in the moment with stuff like this, how one fosters a spirit of gratitude in the face of this kind of situation. And before I go into that, because again, each episode, some new people are tuning in. Let me hit the pause sound effect. This is another sound effect we have. It's custom just for when I pause and do the backstory. Yeah. We had a whole team of people put that one together. So the backstory is this. Leanne has medulloblastoma. It is, and I was saying, I was asking everyone to pray that there was a 10% chance that it would be one of the kinds it's pretty chill. It's still cancer, but it's pretty easy to manage. And I was hopeful because Laura Horn, Trent Horn's wife, she had a 10% chance of getting the least aggressive kind of brain tumor, and she got that. So I was like, all right, if their followers can pray it up, let's do that over here. Alas, well, our prayers are not as good. So I'm not asking y'all for prayers anymore. It's all Trent Horn's fans. I'm kidding. It's probably me. It's like my prayers are just not. God's like, I can read your thoughts, Jen. I mean, I know where you are spiritually. So, no, we didn't get the easy kind. We got one of the more aggressive kinds. So, but we don't use the word aggressive on this podcast. The cancer is Larry. Larry is drunk and Larry needs to go home. And, so it's a heavy thing. It is a heavy thing because unfortunately with all this drama with the radiation and chemo and then more chemo and more chemo. And yes, I know chemo is a toxin. I researched it. I'm a researcher. Okay. This is the best course of treatment. The problem is you kick Larry out with some aggressive radiation and chemo. Larry wants to keep the party going. Larry is enthusiastic. That's what we say instead of aggressive. Larry's very enthusiastic. He loves what he does. He loves the party, always wants to keep the party going. So we're going to kick Larry out. And I think, hopefully temporarily, we'll kick him out. Larry's going to want to come back and take the party to the next level. When he's going to get in an Uber, you send him home in an Uber. He's going to slip the Uber driver a 20 and be like, turn around. I'm coming back. Going to keep the party going. So it's a heavy thing. It's a heavy thing. And so that's where the real battle actually starts. After all of this, you do the chemo and radiation. So you ring that bell and then you do more chemo. She'll be doing 3 different types of chemo. So I don't know if she rings 3 bells at the end of that chemo, but it's like, that's usually a big moment when you ring the bell, but it's like, okay. I mean, that's really when our battle starts, is after all of that. How do we keep Larry from slipping the Uber driver a 20 and coming back to keep the party going? So for those of you who are new, a person could find that to be a heavy situation, and a person could find having to move their daughter out of their out of her dorm room, where she was thriving in college, to be a heavy situation. And so I've really been working on, okay, how do I find gratitude in these moments and not take actions and say things publicly that have me end up on the news? How do I keep it together for Lane's sake and for the sake of this battle? I mean, there is a battle to be fought here. There is a battle to be fought. And how do I get in touch with Trent Horn's fans? Because I think, when we start praying for Larry not to come back, I need his fan base praying for that. You guys can pray for some others. I need Trent Horn's fan base to pray up Larry doesn't come back. That's because they're good at getting those 10% options. And for those of you who are new, that's this podcast. It's like I speak about things that are of interest to either Catholic women, Catholic parents, or people who are Catholic curious or Catholic friendly. I know we have some honorary Lutherans here listening, some Presbyterians even, but this is a diverse listenership here. Actually, someone on YouTube said, or he or she, I don't know, who knows? They said, I'm an atheist, but I'm praying for you guys. I'll give it a shot, which I sincerely, that really meant a lot. So very diverse listenership here. So I talk about things that typically would be of interest to women of faith, but I do it in a kind of autistic way. It's like, rather than I like to start my days with a cup of tea and I look out the window and I give thanks. Like that's good. I have a lot of friends who do that. I'm more like, I had 4 cold brew coffees because I forgot how much caffeine is in cold brew. So now there's a tangent about caffeine in cold brew coffee. And I got to the point where I could hear colors and I was like manically on Instagram and I left some comments I really regret. And I tried to look out the window and have gratitude. But then I was like, what is even the meaning of gratitude? That's this podcast. So it's like neurodivergent Proverbs 31 woman kind of stuff. So welcome. It's definitely not everyone's cup of tea for sure. Okay. So, but along those lines, I've really been analyzing what does gratitude even mean? And certainly how do you find it in this life worst case scenario? This is all of our worst fears. Can we be real? It doesn't get a lot worse than this as a parent. We're kind of staring at a worst case scenario. And so in terms of just the scariness, again, there's a battle to be fought and I am hopeful, but facing down enthusiastic, curious, eccentric, cancers like Larry that like to continue the party even after you tell him he's drunk and he needs to go home. It is every parent is like, okay, that's, I'd rather not have that be part of my lived experience. So is it even possible to find gratitude or happiness or anything like that in the midst of this? And while you're watching your child, go through something like this. And I think, and again, this is a very neurodivergent and overly analytical way to think about this. This analysis is probably not everyone's cup of tea. And if you just want to hear my advice about having little kids, skip to the end of the podcast. But for those of you who are also maybe a little too analytical, what started me on this is, so Lane's diagnosis day was October 2nd, Thursday, October 2nd. And I had just decided that I was going to have a great October. Fall is my favorite season. It has always been my favorite season. I think especially as a Texan, we barely survive the summer. Fall is like spring for those of you guys who live in the frozen tundra. It's like the weather that tries to murder us every year is finally lifting. So for us in Texas, that's when summer ends. It's like, oh, good. It's not 115 degrees anymore. So I was determined it was just going to be pumpkin spice everything, great fall. And specifically October. I was like, I'm going to have a great October. I bought some sassy red boots to wear on my tour. My shows were selling well. Everything was awesome. And then October 2nd, everything bottom falls out. And it's funny that's when something shifted within me, because I was like, oh, no, I'm not having October mess. We're still having a pumpkin spice, hot girl autumn, whatever. Nothing is going to stop me. So it's a pumpkin spice brain tumor. We just had like fall girl aesthetic in the ICU. I am going to enjoy October. That was my mentality. And I was like, I cannot tell you how dead set on this. I'm like, oh no. Oh, I'm enjoying fall. And so is Lane. We're going to have fall aesthetic out the wazoo over here. I don't care if we're in the ICU. I don't care if we're in the chemo ward. I don't care if we're at the radiation clinic. Like, we're having a nice time. And it has actually taught me a lot about what gratitude really looks like. And I think this insight will hit, especially for people who have a storytelling type of personality. That can be a great character trait, and it can also be one that's not as great. And what I mean is, like, you're always walking around narrating your experience, and you're thinking at kind of a higher level. What does this mean? You're looking for trends. What is the story here? So let me give you an example. I think a lot of people who find it easier to live in the present moment and take life at face value, if they see that the house is messy again and the kids skip doing chores again, their mind doesn't go much beyond that. They say, hey, I'm not enforcing consequences enough, obviously, or I need to sit down with each kid and say, what is going on? That you're blowing this off or whatever. Now, for some of us, every situation we ever encounter in life, we are tempted to lay a story on top of it. So it would be, this house is falling apart. These kids have no discipline. I have failed as a parent, and my spouse has failed as a parent. Our marriage is going to fall apart. I mean, it's this like long tendency to constantly overlay a story, overlay a narrative on top of whatever you are experiencing. And that can be good. I think we are good at pattern recognition. We are good at noticing trends. And frankly, we tend to be good storytellers. We can write novels, memoirs, stories. Like we're fun at a party, because we're good at telling stories. But the problem is that a lot of times you're so stuck on that higher level, the narrative, that you can't enjoy what is right in front of you right now. Now, let me ground this with a practical moment, since that was very, out in the ether. Okay. So Lane has radiation 5 days a week, and lately they've been late at night because they're working her in, because it's absolutely critical that radiation start at a very specific time for her particular type of cancer. And so we have been at radiation. Sometimes the appointments aren't even scheduled until 9:30. They run a little late, and then she's in there for 45 minutes to an hour. So we're not even walking out of the radiation clinic until like 11 p.m. And then it's like a 40-minute drive to get back to where we're staying. And there have been moments, especially when we've been there late on a Friday night, that I felt I was just kind of hit by a wave of, it's not supposed to be like this. This is not what my daughter is supposed to be doing on a Friday night of her sophomore year in college. It's beautiful fall weather. We talked about this in the last episode. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. That's the narrative. That's my screenwriter. That's my script writer in my head telling a narrative about how life is supposed to be and blah, blah, blah. And it's true. I mean, like, people aren't supposed to get horrible diseases. I mean, there is truth to that. But when I let go of like the overarching story that I told myself, and I just looked at what was in front of me right here, right now, I was like, their Wi-Fi connection is really good, actually. And there was a football game on. This was a Thursday night. I was watching Thursday night football. My fantasy football team, horrible. I have two teams, both of them horrible this year. You'd think that God could stop the suffering at some point. Like, you shouldn't have childhood cancer and not one, but two horrible fantasy football teams. But I was like, this football game is like kind of fun to watch, and I'm grateful that it's, I've got my iPad and it's on Amazon Prime and it's easy to access, and Lane was having a good day. She felt fine that day. We were joking around. The people at the radiation place they're really nice. They're nice to be around. Lane was in a good mood. I was in a good mood. And the facility is very comfortable. I had a small waiting room to myself. It was a comfortable couch. And I guess maybe this is all obvious to you guys. Maybe you're already living this way, but I just kind of had this epiphany where I was like, there's nothing wrong at this moment. In fact, this particular moment is pretty pleasant. On the plus side, Lane and I are getting to hang out. Sure do wish it were for a different reason. But before this horrific diagnosis, I did not see her that much. She was off at college. She was not able to come home on the weekends because she was very busy. So she had fled the coop. She wasn't home very much. And now Lane and I hang out all day, every day. We hang out all the time, and we enjoy each other's company. We always have. And it's really nice. And it was just, I'm not sure if I can fully describe the switch that was flipped in my mind, but I guess it was like, I finally told my chattering inner narrator to just shut up. Even when it's right. Like, yeah, it's theologically, like, God doesn't want horrible things to happen to people. So yeah, it's true. She, quote unquote, shouldn't have cancer. This shouldn't be happening. The world shouldn't be a fallen place. We shouldn't suffer. It's all true. She should be at college. She should be a sophomore, whatever. But a lot of that kind of thinking and that kind of suffering is because you're thinking about the past or the future. And when you just look at like, okay, well, there are some pleasant things right now. It's actually a much more relaxing way to live than the way I had been living. Because basically I have been forced to have that compartmentalization where I spend very little time thinking about the bigger story because I can't. Larry is a whole mess, and it's going to be an ordeal to kick him out. And so just for my peace, I can't spend a lot of time dwelling on that bigger picture and what the fight might look like. And obviously I'm in medulloblastoma groups where I see all these difficult things that happen to other kids. It's like, maybe they kicked the cancer, but the third brain surgery got screwed up and now they've got this horrible lifelong disability. I just can't think about it. I can't think about it. And so by necessity, I have been forced to put up a wall, like just compartmentalize, just like I did. I learned this in stand-up comedy when I'm on stage. I learned it at SiriusXM, having a daily national radio show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. You learn in broadcast media to compartmentalize. Like it doesn't matter if someone did something that really upset me right before I went on the air. You shut it down. You just don't think about it. So I've been applying that to life, where it's like, I'm not thinking about any bigger narrative. I'm just sitting here in this waiting room and noticing that this Wi-Fi is great, and noticing that Lane's in a good mood and I'm in a good mood, and noticing that this game is surprisingly fun to watch, even though both of these teams are terrible and my fantasy football team is terrible. And noticing that the staff is really nice, and I'm glad we encountered them. I'm glad I know these people, and I'm glad they're part of our life experience. And yeah, now as soon as you start extrapolating out, why are we in this room? Well, then it all falls apart and you're miserable. But that's where I've been trying to keep my mind, is just, it's like this chair is comfortable. My shoes are comfortable, and just kind of focusing on that. And that has been really, really helpful to me. And it's, again, I said in the very first episode that we talked about this, I think that keeping your nervous system relaxed and calm as much as possible, and not doing all this, not getting yourself ginned up with a bunch of emotion when you're in a crisis, and just trying to be calm, trying to relax, trying to laugh as much as possible. I think it actually objectively leads to better outcomes to whatever you're fighting, because you'll just be hit with more inspiration. God can just reach you better with inspiration and ideas if you're not in a spiral 24/7. So I don't know, that might not have made any sense, but I think I can be forgiven for that right now, because we have a lot going on right now. But speaking of things, just finding things in the moment that bring me joy. Well, one of them is the cat still there? Okay. Yeah. So you guys can click through on YouTube, and in the show notes, if you're listening on audio, there's a link where you can go directly to this episode on YouTube. It's free. Anyone can watch it. We have a sleepy kitty and a laundry basket behind it. Let me see if I can wake up Biscuit here so that he can be cute for YouTube. Hang on, guys. Biscuit, you want to wake up? Do you see? All right, little ears. We have little ears. So that's a little YouTube bonus. I woke up the kitty so that he can be cute in the background. Oh, now it's time to go to sleep. Okay. So, but so when I was heading out for my fall tour, I was really excited about it. And okay, those ears are really cute. I was really excited about it. And I bought these red boots to wear on stage. And I was just like, this is my new era. This is part of having a great fall. This is part of just being fun and fabulous, and letting life be fun and fabulous. So Caitlin, pull up just the picture of the boots, not the Amazon thing. Yeah. So aren't they fun? I mean, those are, speaking of pulling up YouTube, they're so pretty. They are not only red boots, but they're metallic. They're metallic red. Lane can tell you, I am so popular at MD Anderson because of these boots. I am the belle of the cancer ball over there. Because of these boots, everyone stops me all the time. I mean, when we're walking through MD Anderson, seriously, no fewer than 5 times at least, I would get stopped by people saying they love my boots, and that is part of my attitude right now of saying, well, why can't we still have a fabulous fall? Why can't we still do hot girl fall? But Lane too, like, why not? I mean, even if she loses all her hair, that's why God gave us wigs. Like why can't I still wear my boots? Because I guess that was another moment too that was transformative for me. I was home, and I was packing for another week at MD Anderson. Lane had been very... Whoa.
Cat's down.
Yeah, we have a cat down. Okay, everything in that bag fell too. What? Okay. Do you want to look? Wait, take the picture. Oh, yeah, no, it's not blocking. Okay. Okay. I think I'll just keep talking. We don't edit this podcast. Okay, and new listeners... my regular listeners can tell you, this is this podcast. This is actually a normal episode. This is not a chaotic episode. This is like normal for us. What all spilled, by the way?
Surprisingly nothing.
Just the cat. Way. Just the cat. Okay. All right. Kitty's okay. Oh, now he wants out. Okay. So, and you know what? I even remember where I was. So, I was packing to do another week at MD Anderson. Lane had been very, very ill, like couldn't keep down one sip of water 24/7, violently ill when I was headed out. Now, luckily, we got some medication that helped with that. But at the time, I thought I was heading into another week of her just being violently ill 24/7. And so I looked at my red boots that you see here with sadness, with regret. Like, I was supposed to have a fabulous fall, and I was supposed to have fun. And I was supposed to, wear those on stage at my tour. I had all these shows. I had so many just friends I was going to see, online friends who I knew who I'd finally get to meet in person, and a bunch of new material and filming stuff. And I'd been so excited when I got those boots, because that was going to be my fabulous breakthrough fall 2025 vibe, and those boots were symbolic of it. And so I set them aside to pack my normal reasonable shoes for MD Anderson. And it just occurred to me, wait, why can't I still have a fabulous fall? Why can't I still wear those shoes? They're actually really comfortable, like crazy comfortable. They're very comfortable. And that was another kind of switch flipping moment when I thought, but I can still wear the boots. Not only can I still wear the boots, we can still have a fabulous fall, because the fabulous fall is, you can make anything a fabulous fall. And so, Lane and I go through MD Anderson, and we laugh about so much stuff. One thing to know is that Lane, she's 19. She is one of my main comedy writing partners. When I bring in people to help me with material, usually I write everything myself, but then I run it by, I have 3 people usually that I go to and say, is there any way to punch this up, make it funnier, add a tag? Lane is one of those people. She is a comedy writer. And so the two of us are just like going through MD Anderson, laughing. Like what we were laughing about the other day is she wanted a new kind of walker. Because right now the walker she uses, it just has 2 wheels in the front and then just the pole things in the back. But she wanted one that has 4 wheels and a seat, because at MD Anderson she still needs a wheelchair. But she might be at the point where she could use a walker if we got one that had 4 wheels and rolled more smoothly, but also had a seat. She's not there yet, but she might be. And we said MD Anderson is like, it's like when you go to a club and all these hot girls are there, and you're asking them like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that bag? Oh, is that Prada? Is that, yeah. Where'd you get those shoes? Oh my gosh, those are so cute. Yes. And so at MD Anderson, you're like, where'd you get that wheelchair? Oh my gosh, where did you get that walker? And sure enough, I asked a woman, she had this walker that said Nitro on it. It was so cool. And I was like, oh my gosh, where did you get that? And she told us where she got it. And we started talking. We're like, oh, what are you in for? She's like, colon. We're like, I know, we're brain, I mean, it's just so funny how it's like, you can kind of have the same dynamics that you have at other places, even when you are at a center where every person you see has cancer. I've said before, it's like Hogwarts for people with horrible luck. MD Anderson. It's like we just got the worst luck. But it is, you've got the different houses. It's like, oh, they're colon, and we're brain and spine, and then some people over there, they're sarcoma, and then there's the whole leukemia. They've got leukemia. Always thinks they're so special. They have to have their own place everywhere. So and then you see people from MD Anderson over at the radiation center, which is a different building, and when you live in the moment and you stop the narrative and you remember that you truly do not know the future. I didn't know the future that we would have medulloblastoma in the first place. I thought if you would have said, well, Lane did have symptoms for a couple months. And if you had said, what are the odds this is a brain tumor, I would have laughed. In fact, I said, and this is why she has it, because I jinxed it. I told a friend that there was 99.99% chance, those words left my mouth, that the CT scan will show nothing, because obviously this is not a brain tumor. So that is how much I know the future. So bringing that lesson into now, it's like, okay, yeah, Larry is enthusiastic and curious, and he's going to want to come back and continue the party. But do I know the future? We have established that I do not. So there is no point in thinking about things that may or may not happen. Like, so scientists could be on the brink of some new drug that is like anti-Larry, like specifically that I just don't know about. And I'm going to wake up and read the news, and that's going to be big news tomorrow. Like I do not have a crystal ball. We don't know. And so when you stop acting like you know the future and you start looking at like, I don't know, is there any way to have fun right now? We're like chatting people up at MD Anderson, like, that is a hot scooter. Where did you get that? Is that seat comfortable? Oh my gosh, it's such a cool color. So Lane, now actually right now, I told the kids Caitlin brings her kids over when we do the podcast. As we speak, Lane's siblings and one of her sister's boyfriend is over, and they're all assembling this new scooter for Lane. And all right, we might have a kitty emergency, Caitlin. And everyone's having a great time. And Lane is spending so much time with her siblings than she otherwise would. And I mean, right now, as we are doing this recording, all of my kids and one of the kids' boyfriends is over, and then Caitlin's kids are all in the living room, and they're just hanging out, and they're having fun, and they're setting up Lane's scooter, and it's a really nice fall night. It's beautiful weather. And when I let go of the stories and I put my crystal ball in the trash can, that crystal ball that's like, but it's good, it's the future, it's been the, well, and also the past, the doctor kept saying very aggressive. Why did he have to say that so many times? When I take my crystal ball that makes me think I know the future, and my like little book of the past that I like to clutch and cling to, and when I put those in the trash can, I can just say, this is a great fall night. This is a really great fall night. We are having a lot of fun, actually. And I feel like my red boots are a symbol of that. And so I'm going to wear those through the whole thing. I mean, red boots I'm just going to keep wearing them because they're a symbol of like, we have fun no matter what around here. Like, we're going to be hot and have fun, like literally no matter what. I mean, it's just, you just can't stop us. You can't stop me and Lane and all of the listeners of this podcast and all of the other people at MD Anderson. Like, you can't stop us from doing that. So that is what the red boots symbolize. Now, it wouldn't be my life if we didn't have... keep it up, Caitlin. Keep the picture up. Wouldn't be my life if we didn't have an absurd twist on it. You're like, well, that's a nice story, Jen. I'm writing that in my journal tonight. That was a really good point. How is this podcast free? I mean, I know that's what everyone's thinking, but... But regular listeners would know there has to be something absurd here because it's Jen's life. So we can't just have like a nice moment and a nice lesson without something ridiculous happening. So I was on Instagram stories. I had posted these boots. That's when I did the Ask Me Anything that I mentioned previously. You guys, I'm not kidding. This is the first Ask Me Anything I've done since the diagnosis. I literally got more questions about the boots than I did about how Lane is doing or how I am doing put together, which I so respect. And that's why the right people have found me, because that's what I'd be wondering about. I'd be like, I think I can guess how they're doing, but where did you get those boots? I so respect that. So I committed. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on stories and I'll just tell people about it. It's been a while since I actually talked to people on social media. So I did. The way Instagram stories work, if you've never done it, it's like you upload a few seconds, you hit publish, and then you can continue the story. But each little video is limited on time. So typically you break it down like 15 seconds on this point, 20 seconds on this point. That's how you do it. Okay, so I recorded the first story. Like, hey guys, everyone's asking me where I got my boots. And it's like not a lie from once. Like, everyone really is asking me where I got these boots. And I said, you know what? I got them on Amazon, but I'll look up the brand and I'll tell you guys. So I hit publish. It took me a second because I got distracted. Lane needed something. So the story has quite a few people have seen it at this point because cancer is great for your engagement. So a lot of people, had already seen it by the time I got to the second story where I promised I'm going to verbally tell you the brand name. Now, Caitlin, you can switch that out for the Amazon image. Do you see? Can you read the brand name?
I'm not sure how to say it other than
Hotch fart. Hooch fart. Hooch fart. FART. HOCH F-A-R-T.
What a name.
I'm just going to take a wild guess that this might not have been made in the USA. Maybe native English speakers did not get together and be like, you know what brand is really going to resonate with women is hooch fart, because that's every woman who wants to like look great and feel feminine is like, where did you are those hooch fart? Oh my gosh. I love a good hooch fart. Yes girl, yes. Well, but it's my life that I had to go on and be like, hey guys, everyone's asking me where I got these boots, give me 1 second, I'll look it up, and then I have to get back on Instagram and say hooch fart. That's what I wear. That's my brand. And it's like all these other people living good lives with no problems. All of these people I follow on Instagram, like they have money, so they're like, yeah, these are Balenciaga, these are Prada, whatever. And I'm like, hooch fart. That's what I'm wearing to the cancer center. Is that not my life in a nutshell? I don't have money to have these boots. You look them up on Amazon, $40. I don't have money to like buy expensive boots. So I am wearing discounted boots called hooch fart to the cancer center. And you know what? I'm still having a good time because I committed I was having hot girl fall. I committed I was having a nice fall. And so me and my discount hooch fart boots are going to have a fabulous time along with my daughter at the cancer center. We cannot be stopped. So go get those. They are so comfortable, you guys. That's another reason I wear them. They are crazy comfortable. Do not leave a comment. These boots are made for walking. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'll block you. You can't. Don't do it. But yeah, so I'm wearing the red boots and I can't be stopped. I'm having a nice fall at the radiation center. Okay. So, here's another, this is such a me moment. Longtime listeners will be like, this is, yep, that's her. Oh. So, when my daughter Lane started chemo, she found that she was really sick the day afterwards. She gets chemo once a week, and she was really sick the day afterwards. And now we have it under control. That's not happening as much, but it was pretty bad at first. And she felt very nauseated. And I was able to help her from my experience. I took her by the hand and I said, honey, do you remember when I got that black market Ozempic that may or may not have actually been Ozempic? It was really cheap. It was way too cheap. It's like, I think it was probably like Four Loko in a vial. It wasn't, it was way too cheap. And so I was injecting who knows what into myself. And I said, honey, and it was once a week. And I also got sick. I felt really sick the first day or two afterwards, but it did get better. And I think that this is going to be your experience with chemo too. The same experience that I had with the black market Ozempic that I got from like the cheap Ozempic bargain.ru website that seemed like it would have been much more legit than it was. And Leanne looked at me like, this is my emergency contact. This is the person running this whole cancer show. This is my future is really dependent on this person. So that's pray for Lane, guys. Get Trent Horn's followers. Here's how you guys can pray. I want you guys to pray that Trent Horn's fans pray for Lane. That's how we need to pray, that Trent Horn's fans pray for Lane, because obviously she needs all the prayers that she can get. Okay, so you guys were asking, someone on the Ask Me Anything like said that they have a child, like my daughter Pammy, who I've mentioned. So Lane's number 2 in the birth order. Pammy is number 5, and she's the one who was the craziest toddler. I mean, it was like chaos for the sake of chaos. She would run over to the silverware drawer, like at 3 or 4 years old. I mean, not a baby, and just like pull open the silverware drawer and throw all of the silverware on the ground. And when I went to go pick it up and put it away, she would run over and get a Sharpie because she knew it was a diversion tactic. She knew that I was picking that up. So she'd get a Sharpie and she'd write on the walls. And when I stopped her from doing that, she got another Sharpie and wrote on her baby brother's forehead with it. That was a typical hour. That was a normal hour, not a particularly crazy day. Just the wildest toddler that anyone has ever had. But now I've said that for those of you who have kids like that, she is so kind, so sweet. She's very popular. She's very good with people. She's so socially gracious. You'd never guess. You'd never guess. Knowing well, occasionally you'd guess. Occasionally you would guess. Like if she wants something, she will wear you down. She's going to get it. I've said before, like, and I mean you. Like when I say you here, I'm talking about you. If my daughter Pammy goes up and tells you to take her to Iceland, just book the ticket because I know you think you'll be like, I don't even know her. I don't think I can take someone else's kid. Just do it. She's going to wear you down. And I know people are like, well, I would parent. Yeah, everyone has ideas about how they'd parent a kid like that until you actually get a kid like that. So anyway, but she is so lovely now. She is just absolutely wonderful. But someone asked about that when you have a kid like that, and just generally, I got a bunch of questions about when you have little kids. How do you just kind of keep your sanity in the midst of that and not feel like you're drowning and overwhelmed? And I actually found Ascension Press, who's great. They posted a clip of one of the Franciscan friars giving advice. He begins by repeating things that moms have said to him and then giving them his advice. So Caitlin, let's listen to that clip.
I'm a wife. I've got 4 kids under 6. I'm just like really struggling with laziness. I'm really struggling with sloth. I'm really struggling with discipline. I'm really struggling with like gluttony. Are you tired? Are you tired? The proposed answer is like, I am slothful. I need to work harder. I am gluttonous. I need to be more disciplined. Where are you going to pull that strength from? You don't have any extra gas in the tank. You're really tired. Is there a way to get some more rest? And if that's not the answer, well, like maybe it's like, okay, well, are we allowing the Lord just to love you there? In your struggle and your weakness, are you allowing the Lord to just love you in your poverty and in your givenness?
Isn't that sweet? I thought that was such a sweet answer. Again, that's from, look up Ascension Press. Also, the Franciscan Friars are on Instagram. They all do really good work and are very worth following. I love that. That was a much more faith-filled and good way to say, are you allowing God to just love you where you are? That's a very eloquent way of saying what I'm always screaming about on this podcast. So again, I'll put my like mildly autistic spin on this. So one of the reasons I currently and always have talked so much about village and how we were meant to live in villages, and it's that the problems that are caused when we're trying to live lives that we weren't designed for is to bring awareness to you guys that you don't have a lot of psychological things that women have had for the vast majority of human history in terms of village. And the caveat I always say too is like, look, I don't want to go back in time. Frankly, I'm not sure I even want to live in a village because people would drive me crazy being up in my business and all that. So I'm not saying it is perfect. I'm not saying, oh, I wish we were Iron Age women living thousands of years ago. We'd be loving life for the 21 years that we were alive on this earth before we, were eaten by a bear. That would be great. So no, I'm not romanticizing it. I'm just saying that your unevolved mind is not expecting to be the sole caretaker for your children 24/7. And certainly children were not designed to have their mother or maybe their mother and father be their only role models. It's like that. Your mother is not supposed to embody every single virtue that a woman can possibly embody. The way villages work is, maybe your mom is good at some things and she's a real mess in other areas. But in a village context, you have lots of aunts who are around and female cousins and and female, eventually nieces and nephews. And so you see all of these examples of womanhood. So maybe you can look to your grandmother or one of your aunts for what it looks like to be a calm and patient woman of prayer. And maybe you can look to your mom for what it looks like to yell and get in people's faces when the situation calls for it. But, no one woman was meant to embody every single positive characteristic that a woman could possibly embody. But that's what you guys have in your heads that you need to be doing, because you look around and you say, oh, I'm like the only female role model that these kids ever see or have any significant contact with all day, every day. So you feel like your flaws are unacceptable. If you're that woman who really does struggle with patience, or frankly struggles with faith, maybe you're just not a naturally faith-filled person and you struggle with it. And then you feel terrible. You're like, what example am I setting for my kids? Well, you know what? This wasn't all supposed to be on your shoulders. You were supposed to have like a niece who lives in the hut next door, who's like an incredible example of faith that you can be like, let's get her over here, because I've been having a rough time, honestly. You weren't supposed to be all these things to your kids. And when we put that on ourselves, we just feel like such incredible failures. And then from just a simple human needs scheduling point of view, again, when you look at tribal women, which was like most of human history, the women did their daily tasks in groups. They had to, frankly, for safety. If you were a woman living 10,000 years ago, you could not go down and wash your clothes in the river by yourself. That would not be a smart idea. You'd be very vulnerable, not a good idea. Women tended to do that in groups for safety, and that meant that all the kids would run around together. The older kids would watch the younger kids. And so it wasn't like one mom fully caring for all of her children's needs 24/7. Again, lots of disadvantages to that kind of living as well, but it is what your primal brain expects. And your primal brain, on some very, very, very deep level, does feel a little unsafe when you're just on some suburban desert island, not around the village, not around the other women. I mean, your amygdala is kind of screaming like, girl, what did you do? Were we abandoned by the tribe? Like, we are supposed to see a lot of other female faces all day, every day. Where are they? And hit the important tangent sound effect. I think that's why you guys are drawn to social media. I think that you're looking for female faces. I think that your amygdala is terrified that you've been left behind by the tribe. And I think it's not because you're lazy or slothful or whatever. I think you're looking for faces because your subconscious, your amygdala, your primal brain is expecting to see a lot more female faces than it is currently seeing. End tangent. Okay. So essentially, you, one person, are trying to do the job of an entire village. And it's like this friar in the Ascension video said, it's like, can you get some rest? Like, can you get some help over here so that you can actually get real sleep and a real break? And by a break, I do not mean having someone come over for 1 hour and then you have that panic feeling. Do you remember this from when your kids were little, Caitlin, that if you actually ever had a break, it was like, I have to live 1,000 lives in this hour. I need a bubble bath. I need to journal. I need to watch 10 shows. I need to text friends. I need to, it's like,
oh yeah,
I have to do all the relaxing that I haven't done in 10 years, like in this 1 hour. And then you get so stuck that before you know it, you waste the hour. So I don't mean an hour where you will like panic reply to text and then have 4.8 minutes to nap. I mean a real break with some real regular, dependable on the calendar help that gives you real time to catch up on not just sleep, but on recreation, on just whatever you feel like doing that fills your cup, your blue flame, things that give you energy. So like that friar said, that would be my first question. Is there a way to stop doing 12 people's job? Is there a way to get some help? Now, for many of you, and I spent many years in this situation too, the answer might be no. It might be we are broke, and some people, they have a toxic family that is just their family can't be their village. That'd be a real problematic village over there. Or it could be just you don't have like me, you don't have a lot of family. Or it could be I don't know, your family lives in a different part of the world or something. So, and you're not one of my billionaire listeners, so you can't just hire the 10 staff members that you so richly deserve. And if you have a kid like Pammy, I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. If I were a billionaire, I would have had 4 nannies, 1 for my 5 other children, and 3 for Pammy. Because it's not one person. Like, even having 1 nanny just for her, that person would be at risk of self-harm very quickly. Like, no, you would need 3. Like, they could only do like 4-hour shifts at a time, and then they would have to take a break. So if you're not one of my billionaire listeners and you can't get like the 3 nannies for 1 kid, and then the 1 nanny for the rest of your kids, and the private chef and the chauffeur and all the things that you ideally would have, then exactly what that friar said. I mean, yeah, let God love you where you are. And the way I always translate that, but he said it much more beautifully. I always say, give yourself a freaking break. Yeah, of course you want to scroll Instagram because it is a low energy thing to do, and you're looking for faces. Your primal brain is lonely. It's terrified. It's overwhelmed. Think about hit the important point sound effect. Think about this. If you were a tribal woman living as women live for most of human history, and you were feeling just scared and stressed out and just like something's wrong, something's not good, what would you do? You'd run to the other women. You'd run to your sisters. You'd run just physically. They'd be right there where the tribal huts or teepees or whatever are. You'd run to them and you'd say, man, I'm stressed. I feel something weird is going on with this kid. When the human mind is stressed, especially in a particular way, it wants to see faces. It wants to see the tribe. That's why you're scrolling Instagram, guys. Don't let these people tell you it's because like you're so bad and you just want to do dumb stuff. You're looking for faces because deep down inside you have a very, very unsettled feeling, and your primal brain kind of feels like, well, if we could find some faces, they might be able to help us, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and what it sees on screens and people actually being in front of you. It doesn't distinguish as much as you think. So it's like, hey, look, this hot woman in a bikini, can she help you? It's like, it doesn't understand like, oh, that's just an influencer on a screen, So, the friar said, let God love you in the moment. Yes. And another way to say that is, stop beating yourself up and acknowledge the situation that you are in. And see, this is where I bet you guys have been thinking about the advice you would give me, right? Okay, let's flip it and apply it to you. So let's pretend that I went on this podcast and I said, I've been feeling like such a failure. I couldn't even put on my red boots today, and they're hooch fart, and like I really wanted to wear them, and my house has been a mess, and I feel like I'm failing, and no matter how many stories I tell about the black market Ozempic, I feel like I'm not helping Lane and whatever. Like, if I went on here and said I feel really discouraged and I feel really overwhelmed, and it's just like I just feel like I'm not being enough, for anyone. Wouldn't you guys give me the advice of being like, Jen, you're in a little bit of a crisis, and really take a second to think through what you would tell me? I think you would tell me that I need to acknowledge that I'm in a crisis, and I need to just accept that there's only going to be so much that I can do given the battles that I am fighting and the stress that I am under. Sure, if I were a billionaire and I had infinite energy and God gave me 50 hours in a day instead of just 24, I'm sure I could be my best self, and I could be, doing everything I want to do, and the house would be perfectly together, and I'd have all my clutter dealt with, and my studio would be organized. Sure, I'm sure I would be able to do all sorts of stuff that I want to do. But I think you guys would point out, it's just, you are dealing with more than one person could deal with. So therefore, you are in a triage situation. And, triage, I don't know a lot about the medical profession, but it's a medical word. And any ER doctor listeners, tell me if I'm wrong. You can leave a YouTube comment. But from what I understand, triage, like if you go into an ER, is like they're not trying to cure you. They're not trying to give you this long-term solution. It's more like, we will get you stable. We will figure out what's wrong. Like just kind of get you stable. Just deal with the situation as it is, get it to a stopping point, and then you can go to a specialist for the long term. And I feel like when you're in any kind of crisis, whether it's cancer like we have, or frankly, having a lot of little kids without the massive support system that you need, that is also a crisis. It's not a bad crisis. It's the best crisis you could ever be in. Having kids and lots of kids is the best thing that can possibly happen to a person in the human experience. So it's a positive crisis, but it is a crisis. And I do think you need to go into triage mentality, because, the reason ERs do triage is because it's not realistic to have every possible medical specialist who could possibly exist on the face of the planet to start long-term therapy when a guy just came in from a car accident, with his leg broken or something like that. Like, they just need to get the situation to a stopping point, so that then once things are kind of organized, then he can take long-term steps. So when you're in any kind of crisis situation, you're not going to have the full resources that you need and want to live your best life. You have more problems than your resources can attend to. Does that make sense? When you're in any kind of crisis, whether it's a positive crisis like having little kids, or a negative crisis like cancer, you have more problems than you have resources to deal with them. And so that you have to look at it like triage. Like, okay, I'm not going to be my highest and greatest self here. Okay, probably not. So let's just start prioritizing. Like in the ER, we're not going to fix the hangnail for the guy who just came in who was in a car accident. We need to prioritize. What is the biggest thing that we need to deal with? So you just have to have that triage kind of mentality. Like, I will be able to live, like, do all the perfect things I want to do. Maybe in a different time frame, but right now we need to triage. And while you're doing the ruthless prioritization, here's my other tip that you don't hear as often from people. I think one of the top things that you should do is find your blue flame. Like, cultivate something that is something that gives you energy, some way that you can give love back to the world, to your family, to other people. It's an other focused thing. It's something that you create or put out there that gives you energy. It's not just one more thing on your to-do list. It's something that when you're done doing it, you have more energy than before you did it. So when my kids were little, that was writing. I wrote my book, Something Other Than God, and then also One Beautiful Dream. I wrote those while I was staying home with kids, when the kids were little. And that was like at the top of my triage list, meaning I have to have something that is a way that I can connect with this, kind of innermost part of myself, figure out who I am and how I want to, this love language that I want to share with the world in the form of my blue flame. I think that should be at the top of your list, because it will give you energy. It will make you a better mother. And here's the biggest thing. And this is kind of if you only remember one thing, that make it this: when you find that blue flame, that kind of work that you like to do, whether it's cooking, writing, volunteering at a nursing home, whatever, it creates something that cannot be destroyed. And I think when you have little kids, it's so important to find something in life that like you can do that is not destroyed. Because you know how it is. It's like, I just cleaned this living room. I turned my back for 1 second. It is destroyed. I cooked a nice meal. They don't eat it, and a bunch of it gets spilled on the floor. Or like I had my really nice hooch fart boots and someone like spilled pudding all over them, and now they're ruined. Like it is a season, especially when you don't have that village, especially when you don't have that support system. It is a season where it feels like everything you do gets destroyed. It's like living with piranhas. It's like just anything I do is like, it's like I set a stack of papers on the table. I turn my back on them. They're all torn up. And it's like, well, the IRS is not going to like that. Like that's a real problem. And so I found it was really key to my sanity. Again, at that time, the blue flame that I really leaned into was writing. And when I was able to use the kids' nap time and just write a chapter of something other than God, just knowing that I had written that chapter, even though a lot of times I'm like, this chapter sucks, this did not turn out like I wanted it to, I hate my writing and, you know, all the artist stuff that people go through, but still, it was something that I had created that can't be destroyed. And so for you, maybe if you try like if cooking is your blue flame, yeah, that can get torn up. But like if you do, let's say you create like really pretty cookies that you do save some for the kids, but also some are just to give to the neighbor in nice little pretty cellophane bags, because like you need one thing in your life that is pretty and not destroyed by little hands that like are like piranhas and grab at little things when you're not looking. So I think that is why, as you ruthlessly prioritize your life, like realizing you're not going to be able to do everything under the sun that you want to do in this season, and you're not going to be the person you would like to be in this season, put finding your blue flame and doing some sort of work towards it every day, if you can, at the very, very top of your list, because it will help you connect with who you really are. It will just kind of feel like there is something within you, and there is something that you're creating that is just, it's like, it's away from the mess. It's away from the noise. It's something you can control. That's another thing. There's so many things when you have little kids that you can't make them stop crying. You can't perfectly make them clean up after themselves or stop putting their grubby handprints on the wall or whatever. It's like, it is something that puts you in touch with yourself that you can control and that will not be destroyed by little hands. And I think that being able to find something like that and hold on to it will be such an incredible source of energy for you, and also an incredible sanity saver as you go through life with little kids. And I'm not going to tell you it goes by so fast, because I feel like I was a parent for 1,000 years. Like it does not go by so fast. The days are long. The years are also long. It's just long and it's hard. And I will never tell you that it goes by so fast. So yeah, you guys just give yourselves a break. Give yourselves a break and realize that you've been put in a situation where you're supposed to be doing the job of like 20 people, and nobody can do that. Like humans weren't designed to do that. And so just recognize that you're probably turning to social media because you desire to see faces, and your subconscious is looking for that village, and you are probably doing a way, way, way better job than you think you are. I promise. All right. And on that note, if you guys could just, please pray that Trent Horn's fans pray for us. That's what I need you guys to do. We need Trent Horn's fans' prayers to get some really good, miraculous, turns of events with this cancer in the future. And I might actually be back next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.